What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. May 2nd is rapidly approaching, and the time has come for the Boxing Ego official prediction. Now, a lot of people blew me up saying, when you're going to do it, when you're going to do it. As you guys know, my prediction streak was on a good run till the Matisse Provodnikov fight. Now, in this, I'm going to give a detailed breakdown, and as I always do, I'm going to tell you why I think. I don't just say things. I tell you why. I support my claims, whether I'm right or wrong. Now, I have to, before I get into the actual prediction, I have to use this time to do a quick disclaimer and say this fight, as exciting as it is in the build-up, it's also very, very draining. You got people who never watch boxing more than, 2 weekends in the last decade, who are all of a sudden trying to educate people, and it's just been a nightmare. People are turning this fight, and trust me, it's a good fight, great build-up. People are turning this into some David versus Goliath, biblical 7 years war, Republican, Democrat, political party / Bloods and Crip, gangland turf war. To me, this is not that serious. This is a good fight between two of this generation's best athletes, period. You guys can do this, like killing each other in the comment section and all that. I'm telling you, for me, this is a business. This is a brand. I'm not here to play, and I'm here to educate, inform, and keep it pushing. You guys can do whatever you want. Some people want to listen to the video and then get mad in the comment section. It's not going to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is Ego's prediction. People want to know what I feel, so I'm going to give them my honest assessment of this fight. All the people who are lunatics and emotionally attached and whatever, have fun, have at it. You know what I'm saying? That ain't changing what I'm doing. So I got to break this down from an intellectual perspective. And there are different variables you have to consider, which I've done. And surprisingly, my opinion of this fight from when they first started negotiation 5 years ago to now hasn't really changed. If anything, it's been more reassuring to what I always felt. Now, I could be totally wrong, and some people are going to say, oh, you're going to close down your channel. Why the fuck would I do that? I get paid off of this. This is my income. Why would I close my channel if I am wrong? That you guys just sound retarded. That changed nothing. I've been wrong before. I've seen my favorite fighters, Tyson and Roy Jones, get knocked out. Like this, again, some of you guys have taken this into some like it's humans versus aliens or some shit. This is not that serious. It's not good versus evil. I'm breaking down a fight based on the strengths and weaknesses. Check out my segment that I did to Ego's weapons, and I kind of gave some of the positives, the pluses on both sides, Mayweather and Pacquiao. So as far as the breakdown, let me just throw it out instantly. I'm picking Mayweather to win unanimous decision. I also, and this is a strong also, I could also see Mayweather really stopping Pacquiao in the later rounds, like let's say rounds 8 through 11. And that, the reason why I'm not picking that as my pure prediction, it's kind of like a sub prediction, is for the simple fact it all depends on Pacquiao. Pacquiao is game. Pacquiao is a fighter. He's a warrior. He has heart. Take none of that away from him. But it depends on how reckless he decides to get or how frustrated he gets. If he gets extremely frustrated, then I would lean towards the stoppage. If not, Pacquiao's tough. He's pretty durable in general. So I would say a decision. But either way, I have Mayweather winning. Now, the reason some people are like, I knew it, man. You could say whatever you want. But when I break down a fight, I look at certain things that I'm going to explore in this video. Now, the reason I'm picking Mayweather, and it's not that Pacquiao can't pose problems. Like for a fact, I don't really consider Mayweather just going in there and easy work once and like one round and it's over, anything like that. I think Mayweather will probably, in fact, have to make an adjustment, maybe even get staggered at some point. Now, one of the strong reasons I'm favoring Mayweather is they both got a lot of similarities in terms of experience. They both have that. They both have speed. There's a lot that they have in common. But what separates Mayweather, in my opinion, from a guy like Pacquiao is I've seen more dynamic in terms of his arsenal. I've seen more tools in his tool shed, if you will. Pacquiao is exceptionally effective at what he does, being a southpaw, landing that straight left, frustrating people with the angles and overwhelming them. He's exceptional at that. But if you put Pacquiao in a position where it's out of his realm, out of his comfort zone, he doesn't look the same. Like, I've seen Pacquiao in spots briefly, like, get walked down by a bigger guy like a Margarito or Josh Clottey or somebody who's naturally bigger than him. And he almost doesn't know what to do in those situations. Whereas when I've seen Mayweather, he's made adjustments. He was hurt bad twice in round 2 versus Shane Mosley. Went on to dominate Shane Mosley and beat him every single round. That's not normal. That's special, in my opinion. Also, Mayweather, I just seen him like Ricky Hatton fight. Ricky Hatton was just real. He was undefeated, so he was real energetic. He had a crowd, so he was making Mayweather uncomfortable at spots. And by the round's end, Mayweather started to like decipher and dissect Ricky Hatton and was able to be the first person to stop Ricky Hatton. And Ricky Hatton's been in there with Costa Zoo. He's been in there with Jose Luis Castillo and Paulie Malignaggi, other people and stuff like that. So it's what Mayweather does in terms of bridging the gap. He creates that separation. He shows different dynamics versus when I look at Pacquiao, I think of if someone walks Pacquiao down, what is he going to do? Like, Pacquiao is very effective at fighting the style that he wants to fight. But what if someone takes him out of his comfort zone? I've seen Mayweather taken out of his comfort zone. Zab Judah showed you that. Zab Judah took him out of his comfort zone and he adjusted. He made that adjustment to start picking apart Zab Judah, working the body and stuff like that. I haven't really seen Pacquiao make those adjustments. He's improved his right hand, but he gets hit with a lot of right hands. And all the years I've seen him, that has plagued him. He's always got hit with, watch, like, see, some people, that's why it makes me laugh, because I can always separate the real boxing fans from the fake. They say Marquez's punch was lucky, but if you look at that fight earlier in the fight, he landed that same punch. If you look at their first fight, he landed that same punch. Now, just so happens in the fourth fight, that punch was just perfectly timed and it hit accurately, and then he went down and got knocked out from it. But Marquez has always had beautiful rights that he landed on Manny Pacquiao, Floyd's best punch. Now, Pacquiao is dangerous with his left hand, but again, it's the dynamics. If Floyd somehow, some way, which he's a master of doing this, nullifies that left hand, what is Pacquiao going to do? His right is still not that prominent. It's better than maybe when he first came to America or something, but it's not that good. Versus when I look at a guy like Mayweather, and he was getting outsped by Zab Judah, so he did different things. He worked on his timing, because he was like, okay, I can't have a firefight with this guy because he's beating me on the speed. He's beating me to the punch because it's southpaw and it's giving me problems or whatever. And Mayweather made that adjustment. So I just see overall Mayweather having the ability to make more and more precise adjustments. Plus, people always talk about the work rate. Mayweather has the highest accuracy in the sport. Not only that, he's in the top 3, maybe even number 1, of making people with higher work rates throw a lot less punches, right? So not only is he accurate with his shots, that tells me he nullifies his opponent's shots, how many shots that they land clean. And I think that's going to be a problem for Pacquiao. And like I said, if you take away the left hand, if he can get it done and take away the left hand on Pacquiao, what is Pacquiao going to do to win the rounds? And I just see Pacquiao chasing, getting frustrated, banging his gloves together. Those different types of things that Pacquiao does. He's a warrior. He's going to try. He has heart. But I've seen Mayweather where he was put in positions where this is not going to cut it. You know what I mean? He hurt his hand or something, so he couldn't really throw that hand as much. Different things like that. But for Pacquiao, most of his best wins, he hasn't really had to change who he was. He didn't really have to fight a different style. The one style that he does have was effective, and it got the job done. But again, when you're up against someone who's the master at adjusting, I just don't see that being enough. Another thing, people get into this whole good versus evil and all this bullshit, and they get mad if you pick Mayweather. Why? Just because he's a black American champion? Like, I don't understand why picking an undefeated fighter who is the betting favorite, is a sin. Now, it's one thing if you want to root for a guy, but I don't do predictions based on who I'm rooting for. I base it on the skill level and what I've seen. And Pacquiao has ability, but it's this matchup. It's the particular matchup. And I think Pacquiao, you got to look at the other dynamics too. When they show a lot of Pacquiao highlights, it's always highlights from a long time ago. And people don't put things into perspective when they watch fights. When they're showing these HBO things, you're like, oh shit, he slept Ricky Hatton, damn, right? And then you think back, you're like, okay, you just remember it because it doesn't seem like time flies. It doesn't really seem like it though. And then I start thinking, and I'm like, damn, he beat the shit out of Oscar De La Hoya. When was that? 2008. When did he beat Ricky Hatton and drop him in the second round, knock him out brutally? May of 2009. He fought Cotto 2009. Josh Clottey 2010. Antonio Margarito 2010. Mosley 2011. Marquez in the third fight, which I thought he lost, 2011. Then he fought Bradley, lost. That was in 2012. Got knocked out in 2012 in December by Marquez. And you got to think about it. It's 2015. And some of those prime fights that we were referring to are way back in 2009. And to me, this whole God-fearing Pacquiao, I think it's also hindered him. You know what I'm saying? Because I have no problem with anyone's religion. If you are faithful and you pray every day, that's great. But the amount that Pacquiao is talking about religion in terms of, I just feel like it's affected his fight style. Like he doesn't even fight as aggressive as he wants. Like you ask Pacquiao a straight question. Oh, what's gonna happen on May 2nd? Be like, it's up to God, whatever God decides, and God will deliver him into my hand. I don't know. It just, that whole demeanor, like I said, I could be wrong and maybe reading into it too much, but just from what I've seen, he just seems very passive in general. And I don't think that's befitting of his style. Now, going back to his performances, again, a lot of those highlight reel performances happened some time ago, 2015, and those Clottey's and Margarito fights, those are 2010, Cotto in 2009. And in my opinion, Floyd Mayweather, and I'm going to explain this carefully because I know a lot of you guys hear a sentence and then you pause the video and leave me a dumb comment. So listen to what I have to say and then you can respond. And I'm going to say it carefully. I know what I say because I'm there when I say it. Nobody fights like Floyd Joy Mayweather Jr. Nobody fights like Emmanuel Pacquiao. However, I feel that Floyd Mayweather, his schedule of fights has better prepared him for this type of fight with Manny Pacquiao. That's what I honestly believe. And I'm going to explore that and I'm going to break it down. Now, again, I'm not saying any of the people Floyd has recently faced fight anything like Pacquiao because they really don't. None of them, or actually Robert Guerrero was the only one that was really a southpaw. So different styles and everything. However, I'm going to explore and break down my comment, what I just made. You look at, we'll start with Pacquiao. You look at Pacquiao, his very last performance, Chris Algieri. Chris Algieri, in my opinion, he's decent, but he's a guy that lacks pro-level experience. He was into kickboxing, which is combat, but it's not boxing. Boxing is the sweet science. Kickboxing is kickboxing. You know what I mean? Every sport is its own sport. UFC is different. These are all different sports. So he lacked big fight experience. He fought all of his professional fights with the hometown advantage minus the Pacquiao fight. And subsequently, that's the fight where he looked the worst out of all the fights that I've ever seen him in, right? So he just ultimately, in my opinion, I don't really rate him that high. He wasn't ready for that type of fight. How do you come from a split decision where some people thought Ruslan Provodnikov, the champion at the time, should have won, to fighting a guy like Manny Pacquiao when you got guys like Keith Thurman and Kell Brook and they're doing business at welterweight, handling the business, looking pretty good. And you got a guy in Chris Algieri who has no punching power at 140, and then he's moving up to a catchweight. And a lot of people say, oh, but his frame, he's tall. It doesn't matter how tall. He could be 6'7". If he had no punching power at 140, then he has no punching power at 140. It doesn't matter how tall you are. That's not going to give you power going up in weight. Yeah, his frame might be able to take the extra weight and he had some trouble making the weight or whatever, but it doesn't help him in any way, really. You know what I mean? Just having a reach with nothing behind it. So that's one thing. I just think overall, Chris Algieri, I don't rate. His best win is Ruslan Provodnikov, which was a split decision. How's your best win a split decision? And then other than that, Emmanuel Taylor. And then you fought Pacquiao, experienced, but you got washed, knocked down 6 times. So going up against that, a catch weight, Chris Algieri, no power, 140 moved up to a catch weight, right? Didn't have that big fight level experience. Going into that, from that to Mayweather, I just don't see that being the optimum like fight that will prepare you for a Mayweather. Because Chris Algieri, a lot of people get it twisted. You could say you hate Mayweather till your face is blue, but he's an elite fighter. He's a proven fighter. He has a resume, he has accolades, awards, or whatever to prove it. He is considered elite. That's why he's considered #1 pound for pound. Chris Algieri is not a proven masterclass boxer. He did what he had to do, try to show heart, and got a split decision. And then people will say, oh, but he's former champion. Just so you know, at the time he fought Pacquiao, he had already been stripped of his belt that he had just won in June from Ruslan Provodnikov. So when people say he's a former champion, he was a champion for all of 6 months before he got stripped, just so you know. And that means he never even had the opportunity to defend. Had he defended against like Lamont Peterson or something and beat him, then went to fight Pacquiao, okay, that's a little bit more credentials. You beat a guy like Lamont Peterson at 140, defended the title, then fought Pacquiao. But he was just thrown into that, they capitalized, etc. So that's one fight. Then you look before Algieri, Timothy Bradley. Now, Timothy Bradley is a fighter that I rate. I think he has an underrated resume. He's an underrated fighter. He's a very good fighter, athletic. One thing about Bradley is at times I question his decision-making skills. Like the Ruslan Provodnikov fight, fought with the chip on his shoulder, did some crazy stuff, and nearly paid for it and almost got knocked out in that fight. So to me, I don't consider Bradley quite as sharp and smart. When you look at Mayweather, he could talk all the trash in the world, and come fight time, he's all business. You know what I mean? Shane Mosley rocked him, got back to business. He was hurting the Zab Judah fight, got down to business. Hurting the DeMarcus Corley fight, got to business. Marcos Maidana was bull rushing him, got to business. You know what I'm saying? So Timothy Bradley, at times, his decision making, it questions me. But Bradley is a very good fighter. And then you look at that fight, I thought Bradley was winning a lot, most of those early rounds, if not all of those early rounds in the rematch. I thought Bradley was looking good. And for whatever reason, trying to load up on every shot, he tired himself out, gassed out. Pacquiao made adjustments, and then I think Pacquiao convincingly beat Bradley based on that. But it wasn't a lopsided fight or anything. Then you look before that, Pacquiao fought Brandon Rios. Brandon Rios, a 140-pound fighter who was off of a loss to Mike Alvarado in the rematch. And Rios moved up. He was with Alex Ariza. He did complain about some kind of training he was doing with Ariza, lifting weights. He said it didn't really fit his style. And he attributes that to why he looked bad. I mean, I don't think any of that has anything to do with, I think Pacquiao is just better overall fighter. That's why he looked in his style. So, I mean, it is what it is. But the facts are this. Brandon Rios was off a loss, and he's a 140-pound fighter. Never fought at welterweight, even though he has the frame to do it. It's different having the frame to do it and being acclimated to it. You know what I mean? You can have let's say I'm okay with being in hot climates, right? Say I have no problem. I like the hot weather, right? If I go to Vegas and I'm coming from a cold climate and I go to Vegas and the very first day I get there is 119 degrees all throughout the day, then I'm like, damn, I'm like sweating and sweltering. I'm burning up hot. So it doesn't mean that I don't like hot weather. It's just I didn't even have a time to acclimate to that type of weather change. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people say this, like Brandon Rios is big. He is big, but he never fought up there. And that sometimes plays a part. So that was Pacquiao's fight. Pacquiao looked really good in that, and it was after a knockout. Before that was the knockout to Juan Manuel Marquez. That is Pacquiao's last 4 fights. So I look at that, and then I look at going to the Mayweather fight. His best win in that whole bunch is Brandon Rios. to me, you could say Timothy Bradley is his best win, which I think actually let me change that. Not his best win, his best performance. His best win is obviously Timothy Bradley, just based on who Bradley was, undefeated fighter, and a difficult style for him. His best performance was over Brandon Rios, in my opinion, in terms of he looked good and he looked very dominant. You can't say his best performance was against Juan Manuel Marquez in the fourth fight because he got knocked out in that fight. And he got knocked down and he knocked Marquez down one time. So to me, I'm talking about performance. His best performance out of those 4 fights was Brandon Rios, in my opinion. And the reason I rate Brandon Rios' performance over Chris Algieri is because at the very least, even though Brandon Rios is stationary, he does have a good inside fight game, and he couldn't do nothing with Pacquiao. And he has at least some pop. That's why you notice the end of the fight, Pacquiao's face was marked up, versus Chris Algieri has a worse resume, and he didn't really have much. He didn't really bring much offensively, nor did he have the experience. Brandon Rios, in my opinion, has better experience sparring the likes of Maidana and just his professional, the Rios Alvarado trilogy and stuff like that. He just has overall better experience to me. Then that's why I rate that one. So look at that. That's leading up to the Mayweather fight, right? And Brandon Rios fights nothing like Floyd Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? Like that, to me, that is not a guy if I was about to fight Floyd Mayweather, I wouldn't call Brandon Rios to spar. You know what I mean? And I just look at the last 4 opponents. I don't think that's a really good preparation, as good as Floyd Mayweather. Now let's switch over to the Floyd Mayweather side so I can kind of keep explaining. Again, I am not saying any of these fighters fight like Pacquiao, because no one fights like Pacquiao. But Mayweather, his last fight, he fought Marcos Maidana 2 times. So his last 2 fights were Marcos Maidana. In my opinion, that will better gear you up for a guy like Pacquiao. Now, Pacquiao is extremely quick, fast. He'll hit you with angles. But there's some give and take. Meaning, Marcos Maidana outweighed Floyd heavily by like 15 pounds when they fought, right? So he's bigger than Floyd. I also believe Marcos Maidana is more of a single shot knockout guy, whereas Pacquiao has power, but it's more accumulation power. So even though Pacquiao's faster and he could do things that Maidana can't do, I think Maidana is still a solid test because Maidana has a good resume. He's been in there with Eric Morales, Jesus Soto Caras, Adrian Broner right before he fought Floyd. He's been in there with guys like Victor Ortiz when Victor Ortiz was considered the new golden boy and the rising star, taking over for Oscar De La Hoya or whatever they were trying to do, right? So Marcos Maidana, respected resume. He's unorthodox and he's a pressure fighter. And he was pinning Floyd on the ropes, using his weight and throwing a lot of punches. They said, I mean, between the Mayweather fights and Broner, those are the most punches I've ever seen Maidana throw, probably in a fight. You know what I mean? It looked like he was getting gassed a bit in the Jesus Soto Caras fight, even though he got the stoppage. In the Amir Khan fight with Marcos Maidana, he gassed out when he was giving Amir Khan trouble in the later rounds. So, bottom line is, Marcos Maidana, he's not fast like Pacquiao, but he's powerful, and he threw a lot of punches, and it was a relentless, non-stop pressure fighter style. And I'm going to talk about the pressure fighter too in this video. So to me, that's going to gear you up better because Pacquiao is not a pressure fighter, and I'm going to talk about that. But that to me is nothing like what Pacquiao can do in terms of the speed, but that'll help gear. Like Floyd fighting a guy like Marcos Maidana, who does have some advantages over him, size, power. He threw a lot of punches and made Floyd work, bullying him. That is going to better gear you up for a guy like Pacquiao, who has some aggression. He's a southpaw. He's going to try to outwork you and have the work rate versus a Chris Algieri. Chris Algieri, to me, he's kind of, he's not at that level. He's not at that elite level. So that is not going to really prepare you for Floyd Mayweather. I'm sorry. That's the only way I could put it. Before that, Floyd fought Saul Canelo Alvarez, an undefeated, strong Mexican champion at the time, right? Now, Canelo, he's not quick with his feet, but he has deceptively fast hands. His hands are quick. and he has a smart brain. He's more of a boxer puncher. He's not like some ruthless brawler. He's a good boxer puncher, and his inside fight game is nasty. So again, another guy with good hand speed, a guy with a good ring IQ and intelligence, undefeated, who had just beat Austin Trout, I think it was, right? And a strong champion. We've seen him look strong. He beat the shit out of Angulo, like easy. A lot of people picked him to beat, said he beat Laura. That's controversial, whatever. Either way, he did better than he did in the Mayweather fight, right? So that was an undefeated champion in Saul Canelo Alvarez, who's going to fight Kirkland the week after. I think Canelo is very strong. I think he's solid all around. So to me, that's better preparation for Pacquiao because you're fighting a bigger guy with the brain. And even though Canelo didn't look good, it still takes energy and it still takes wisdom to make him look the way that Mayweather did. Mayweather made just this. If you're good at what you do, you can make something look easy. I had a friend that was an artist, and they drew pictures. They drew a picture of Kobe Bryant, and they did it pretty quick. And I was like, damn, that's dope. I'm saying they had all the details, the same hair, eyebrows, everything, but they made it look easy. Now that doesn't mean it was easy to draw, because I can draw pretty good, but I can't draw like that. So just because someone makes something look easy doesn't mean it was easy. Point blank. And then before that, Mayweather fought Robert Guerrero, a southpaw who had 2 solid performances at welterweight and was bigger than Mayweather. And Mayweather made that look like easy work. Before that, Mayweather fought Miguel Cotto, and we already know Cotto's background and his resume. So to me, I think Mayweather's schedule has better prepared him for this moment. Not that these guys fight anything like Manny Pacquiao, but those different styles did bring certain advantages, like Marcos Maidana throwing a gang of punches, being strong. Like Pacquiao, to me, is not a one punch at this division, at this current point in time. He's not a one punch knockout artist. In fact, the only person I can think of that he actually knocked out with one punch in the higher division was Ricky Hatton. And again, that was 2009 or whatever it was. Versus Marcos Maidana, I've seen him sit people down with single shots. Jesus Soto Caras, Adrian Broner. I've seen him, Josito Lopez. He set things up with single shots. I don't know if you guys are understanding this. So, to me, guys like Canelo, he was beaten up on Angulo. It looked like it hurt when he was fighting Angulo. Adesanya Lara didn't look like he liked getting ripped to the body, and Mayweather did what he did with him. Those are kind of things that I'm talking about. So I think the guys that Mayweather was fighting had a bit more momentum. Maidana was on a 4-win streak with 3 of them coming by stoppage, and the 4th was Adrian Broner, which he nearly stopped. Saul Canelo Alvarez just beat Austin Trout, was a champion and also undefeated. So to me, this is all better experience. Even Robert Guerrero, southpaw. Robert Guerrero was his first fight out of post-prison or whatever for Mayweather. And Robert Guerrero, we just seen him last fight with Keith Thurman. That dude has a beard. He's tough. He's game. He comes to fight. He got dropped and then came back, and the next round had his best round, right? So Robert Guerrero is very tough. And if you watch the Mayweather fight, Mayweather said he hurt his hands, whatever. But even if he didn't hurt his hands, he was tagging Guerrero up. And there was a point in that fight where it looked like he almost might stop Robert Guerrero. Robert Guerrero was just getting stung and looked like he didn't know what to do. And then you look at even Keith Thurman's fight, very dominant with a knockdown. But Keith Thurman, between the clash of heads and things like that, he took more punishment than Mayweather even came close to taking in that particular fight. So these are all reasons that I have to lean towards Mayweather, because I think Mayweather's, like I said, his last couple of fights have better prepared him for what Pacquiao brings, because the guys had severe size advantages. Fighting a Brandon Rios and then fighting a Floyd Mayweather, that's night and day. You know what I mean? Timothy Bradley, solid fighter, very good. Marquez knocked him out. And then Chris Algieri. You know what I mean? I just don't think Chris Algieri is a good... You know how you go to take a test and they have like sample questions, and those questions may not be on the actual test. However, they're supposed to help you for the actual test. I think Mayweather's sample questions are closer to the actual test because they brought and presented different dangers. Chris Algieri, to me, didn't really present a danger. That's why I made a video entitled Chris Algieri is getting fucked up by Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really see Pacquiao losing at all. Some people thought he did, but based on what? You know what I mean? He wasn't proven enough to me that I would ever pick a guy like Chris Algieri over Pacquiao. That would be a huge upset. All right. And then the other thing is, when I talk to people, sometimes people, they amaze me with the comparisons they make. They try so hard to make comparisons. And the thing is, in boxing, not every comparison is apples and apples. Sometimes you guys have apples and watermelon, apples and mangoes and stuff. Like, it's not even a direct correlation in what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, people will talk about, oh, but Maidana was cornering Floyd and he landed so many punches, so Pacquiao's going to do it. But I'm telling people, this is the difference. Pacquiao, listen closely, Pacquiao is not a pressure fighter. Pacquiao is a fighter, he's like an ambush style fighter that's very athletic with the ability to apply pressure. That's the difference. There's a difference between that. When I think of me personally, when I think of a pressure fighter, I think of Ruslan Provodnikov, Brandon Rios, Marcos Maidana. These are guys that they could be getting punched upside the head. They're still coming forward. Some of them guys don't even have a good jab. They never even use a jab. Still coming forward. They stay on top of you. Even if you watch the Saddam Ali versus Francisco Santana fight, Francisco Santana fought like a pressure fighter. He was, no matter what, he still kept pushing forward, still kept trucking. I think Gennady Golovkin has a lot of tools that he probably hasn't had to show, but the way he's been fighting, pressure fighter. He corners you, blocks your exits, stays on top of you, forces you into his fight, bullies you, punches you, hurts you. You know what I mean? Those are pressure fighters. That is not Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao doesn't have a superb jab. Manny Pacquiao is not a pressure fighter at all. He's an in and out fighter. He's like, do a combo, take some step back, jump, sidestep you, move to the side, things like that. And then he'll come, like, he's like an in and out type of fighter, like like it's kind of like double dutch. When you see people double dutching little girls at the playground or some shit, that sounded creepy. But anyway, double dutch, it's like waiting for your turn to jump in. That's what Pacquiao does. Has that double dutch type of style, like he's waiting to jump in between the two jump ropes going. That's Pacquiao's style. He's not a pressure fighter. He can apply pressure. And again, I'm trying to tell people the difference. Like Keith Thurman, he can pressure you, but he's not a pressure fighter. He's more of a boxer puncher. He doesn't have a relentless, nonstop pressure, but he can get the job done because he knows he has power and he can apply pressure. That's kind of how I look at Pacquiao. So people riding off Maidana's success, Maidana outweighed Floyd Mayweather by 15 pounds. Maidana, in my opinion, has more one-punch, single, debilitating power than Pacquiao. Maidana is a pressure fighter. Pacquiao, to me, is not a pressure fighter. He's a fighter that can apply pressure. And that's a huge difference because, like I said, he's more of I would compare Pacquiao more to like an Amir Khan with more power. He's an ambush style, like jumping in, jumping out. And I think that jumping in, jumping out stuff, if Floyd gets his timing down, also could be a problem. But people always want to compare stuff. They seen a picture of Floyd next to Pacquiao, like, damn, Floyd's looking tall. Margarito was taller than Pacquiao. Chris Algieri was taller than Pacquiao. Yeah, but Chris Algieri fights nothing like Mayweather. And Antonio Margarito, he's tough, big frame. He fought at a catchweight, and he's slow. He's much slower. So these aren't good comparisons. Maidana, what he had success with, yeah, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's easier because Maidana had a big weight advantage over Floyd Mayweather and an improving jab. Pacquiao has short arms. He doesn't have long arms, and he doesn't have a superb jab. So, again, it's possible that Pacquiao catches Mayweather with something, but I just don't see a single shot getting to Mayweather and then, like, finishing him off. He hasn't showed that final finisher spirit. So, I'm going with Mayweather on this. I'll say unanimous decision, maybe even a late stoppage. Depends on how wild Pacquiao looks, or if Pacquiao gets desperate in the late rounds because he's not connecting. And I could picture Freddie Roach possibly saying, "Hey, son, I need something from you, or I'm gonna throw in the towel," kind of attitude. But I think Manny Pacquiao, he's a great fighter. He makes so many mistakes, just little mistakes, and I think Floyd will exploit them once he gets a feel for Pacquiao. Like, and again, I'm not saying it's easy. He's gonna have to get something. They're gonna be competitive rounds, I can imagine, while Floyd collects data. But if Floyd gets that data, it's really a wrap. I've seen Pacquiao do mistakes like leap off of the ground with 2 feet in the air, like just crazy stuff like that, very unorthodox stuff. And against a surgical guy like Mayweather, that's just not what you want. And then, kind of like what Mayweather says, there's no blueprint to beat me. Pacquiao doesn't know exactly what, I mean, he's a great athlete. Let's see if he can get it done, but there's no set style that has bothered him. Shane Mosley is an orthodox fighter, not a southpaw, and Shane Mosley rocked him. Zab Judah is a southpaw that rocked him. So there's no one set formula. And in all those fights, Mayweather found a way to get it done. Pacquiao, I see him repeatedly get hit and hit and hit with right hands. And I think, honestly, when people compare, they make weird comparisons. Like, they talk about how Margarito was taller, just like Floyd is. Margarito and Floyd are the furthest from similar in terms of style. That's probably why some people like Margarito's style and they claim Floyd's boring. You know what I mean? Because they're totally different. They're totally different. So if you might not like one person's style. So when I look at what's given Pacquiao problems, I think Bradley and Marquez, they're closer to what Floyd can do than looking at Pacquiao. Like Brandon Rios and Floyd, nothing alike. They fight nothing alike at all. But Bradley, athletic, pretty sharp and quick mind, that kind of stuff. Marquez, a good counterpuncher. And then I look at Floyd. Floyd is a bigger guy than Marquez, and he's also a counterpuncher. So, like I said, I just can't. I have to pick Floyd on this one because I think Floyd is like a souped up version of Bradley and Marquez. So it's just too hard for me to go against that unless Pacquiao could prove me wrong. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think of my prediction and breakdown. Who wins this? How does it end? Leave realistic comments. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.